It's all about law, society, scholarship, and fandom. Welcome to Semantic Shenanigans.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 12, as in the same number of Doctor Who Doctors, of Semantic Shenanigans. I am Janet Gershon-Siegel, and joining me, as always, from a bunker in an undisclosed location somewhere in the center of the continent, or perhaps the galaxy, my co-host, Shanna Gilkison.
You know what?
What?
I'm over here cracking up because it didn't occur to me that episode 12 Doctors, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this.
Yes, we have Doctor Who on the brain, and you'll find out why in a few moments.
Awesome.
So what's shaking, girlfriend?
Yeah, I've been really it's been so go for me for the last 2 weeks. Last weekend, I was at the Midwest Popular Culture Association conference, which was held in St. Louis, Missouri this time. And it was pretty cool, except I did not manage to get away to do touristy things. I was going to go take a tour of the Arch and all that kind of stuff. But even if I made the time, it probably wouldn't have worked out because I guess they're doing a lot of construction and the tours are kind of sporadic right now. So even if I made the time, there's no guarantee that I would have been able to do it when I got there. So I don't know. I guess that worked out.
So they're turning the arch into like a cube, a rectagon or something?
Maybe it's a Borg thing. I don't know.
So Missouri is the first place that gets assimilated here on planet Earth. Well, that's interesting.
I guess so. But yeah, the conference itself was pretty good, though. I listened to a lot of interesting panels and great research. They had a sick game night. We played board games one of the nights, which was really cool. They banquet room for us. They had this nice terrace with, outdoors. You could see the arch. It was all open. So that was really cool. And I gave my paper on the Pussy Riot fan.
Yay.
Yeah, it was pretty. What about you, Janet? Oh, you know what? I forgot, and we made a note to talk about this. I'm excited, too, because the second season of Stranger Things just dropped, and I'm about an episode and a half in, and I've been so stoked about this for, like, the last year and a half. So I'm going to try to pace myself and savor it and not binge it too much, especially considering I've got a lot of studying to do right now. But I don't know. I may not be able to resist temptation.
I imagine it's something that can get you to procrastinate from studying.
Yeah, so thank goodness Netflix seasons are kind of short in case that happens.
See, there's a reason why we're getting less content, folks. So we can study.
It's my fault.
I'm sorry. We have that kind of power here, apparently. So my life is turned upside down because I'm right in the middle of house renovations.
Oh.
I think I've mentioned this before. This house was built in 1896. And so there's a lot of kind of interesting Victorian things in here, but there's also stuff that happens because the house is over 100 years old. So things break that you wouldn't expect, like cast iron pipe sort of turns into the consistency of pudding because it's just plain old.
Wow.
And but that was a few years ago. So what we're doing now is the downstairs bathroom got gutted because it was a true horror show. But the thing is, it had not been a bathroom originally. It's off the kitchen, and it had probably had been like a storage area where they probably put the big sacks of flour and whatnot, 100 years ago. And I don't even think that the window in there is original, because I'm thinking that's not either. And so guys came in, they ripped everything out, back to the studs, and, we're getting it insulated and all that other happy stuff. But it's just, it's been 2 weeks of this, and allegedly, hopefully, it'll be done in the next few days. But, it's like the new toilet is in my dining room, okay?
Oh, no. Fantastic. Nice centerpiece.
Yes. Don't use it. So there's that. Another thing is I got hired by my biggest social media client. Yay.
Ooh.
So he's pushing me to have more hours, and so I had to say goodbye to my other clients, which is a little sad. And so now I blog about business credit all day and all night, apparently. Very exciting.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Yes. You too can get your file from those fine folks at Equifax and go yell at them. And the other thing is that NaNoWriMo is happening in 4 days. NaNoWriMo stands for November is National Novel Writing Month. Now, I write throughout the year. It's not just in November. But November is kind of fun because it becomes more of a social thing. And the whole idea behind NaNoWriMo is that you write 50,000 words on a project within the month of November. And I've gotten to 50,000 every year since I started in 2013. And in fact, I've gotten to it in usually in about 2 to 2.5 weeks. So I have a tendency to get through it pretty quickly. And Nano has a very special place in my heart because the 2013 novel that I completed was traditionally published.
Oh, very cool. So let's hope for another traditionally published novel out of this.
Yes. And this is also how I had gotten a few things that were not quite so traditionally published, that are like these little short things that are, those were all done for various charities. So I've written for the Alzheimer's Association and for American Cancer Society and things like that. So very exciting. And so that's the news from Siegel Manor.
I've always wanted to try NaNoWriMo, but ever since it became a thing, or at least a hugely popular thing, I've been in school, which has kind of prevented me from doing that. But I'm thinking this year I might adapt it because I'm studying for those preliminary exams over Thanksgiving week. So I have a lot more reading right now that I have to do than writing. So I think I maybe just kind of adapt it to my purposes with the reading. And then next year when I'm on the dissertation phase, then I'll participate. But instead of a novel, I'll be trying to do a chapter of a dissertation.
Hey, why not? What the hell? If it pushes you to write, then it's a good thing. If you write one more word more than you would have written, then it's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I can popularize an academic.
Exactly. So so you're going to be writing academic characters or something like that.
Maybe. You're talking about your house renovations, how your bathroom used to probably a storage room or something. I had a friend at a salon that I used to work with just north of Detroit, and she lived in this older home. It was this Dutch colonial home, and I think that her downstairs bathroom was kind of the same deal, only I wouldn't even call it a bathroom. It was just a toilet and nothing else in a closet.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just had a flashback. I'm sure everybody wanted to know about it, but it was funnier in my head. I don't know.
We'll fix it in post. Don't worry about it. So before we get to our wonderful guest, I just wanted to follow up on something that we had talked about a few episodes ago. I think it was 6. It may have been. Who knows? Whatever. It's in the notes. Look it up, folks. The Seuss versus Comic Mix case, where David Gerald got into some hot water, and other people, not just him, for creating a parody-esque, I guess is the best way of putting it, It takes the look and feel of Dr. Seuss, but it gives it kind of a Star Trek veneer. There has been a little bit more stuff going on in this case. I had not been keeping up with it, to be perfectly honest with you, because I've kind of got better things to do with my time these days. But there's been some activity on motions to dismiss, and they're going to have a hearing scheduled for November 28th, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I guarantee you that the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, no one's going to want to talk about this case. So either it's going to get put off again, or judge will, knock heads and say, I don't want this to go into Christmas. Settle this stupid thing.
Interesting. So either they're still going to be suffering from turkey coma and not wanting to do it, or hey, let's get this out of the way so it doesn't mess with our reindeer game.
Pretty much. I mean, and recognize that 30 years ago when I was practicing, one of the things that we were always told was never bother with anything after about 3 o'clock on a Friday, because it was also that would never, even though technically the court is open until 5 o'clock, and actually for like emergency hearings, courts are open essentially 24/7. But that usually for the regular routine stuff, they didn't want to hear it. They would just say, okay, we're going to move over to the next one, There was, in effect, that they effectively would end their regular day at about 3:30 p.m. usually.
Oh, the things you learn.
They would often take much of the summer off, too. It was a very, very old, very traditional kind of profession, and it was in the middle of changing when I was really actively practicing, and kind of turning from this almost 1950-esque kind of thing where you went there, it was almost a 9-to-5 job, and then you came home and everybody and then, oh look, Mom's got dinner on the stove and stuff like that, and it was starting to come kicking and screaming into the 20th century, even though it was already into the 1980s. And, and now they're trying to get it kicking and screaming into the 21st century, and we'll see how quickly that happens.
So, random question, about not necessarily the law, but how one does law. Was night court a real thing?
Night court, the action of night court really does exist, and often things that look sort of like that happen during the day. I used to go to Supreme Suffolk, which is out in Riverhead, New York. Okay, so Long Island looks like a big crab claw. Riverhead is at the pardon my French. It's at the crotch area of the of Long Island.
Okay, sorry.
And so anyway, so this is sort of semi-rural-ish because there's at least when I was practicing, there were still potato farms out there, but there were also vineyards, stuff like that, and there were these big cattle calls for people, and they would come in, and like a public defender would be there with 20 cases or more stacked up. They were all like 1 or 2 pages long because they had just gotten the file half the time. Next, and the PD would do a whole bunch of these. And I don't even practice criminal law, but at Riverhead it was combined, so you would see a bit of both. So that part is similar. Of course, I don't think we had anybody who was beamed up or anything like that. At least not that I saw.
No farmers that would grow up to become data or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of. It was more like trying to. You always knew who the clients were because inevitably they were dressed for the beach.
Okay.
So it would be like July 4th, July 15th or whatever, and there would be this lawyer in the old 3-piece suit, whatever, the slick back hair and all that happy stuff, and his client would be in like a little romper with flip flops.
Fun.
My client is innocent of the charge of prostitution, I swear, Your Honor.
Well, thank you for indulging my curiosity.
Yeah, the merry mix-ups that occur when you practice law. So, shall we introduce our guest?
Yeah, go ahead, introduce him.
Okay, so we had mentioned Doctor Who earlier, and because that's on our brain, and the reason why it's on our brain is because there's been a lot of changes lately, and I remembered, I know someone who's got a podcast about Doctor Who, so I wanted to introduce Leon Turner, who is also known as Ponken, and he is a big part of Who Back When. So let's welcome him.
Hello.
Yay!
Hi, Leon. How are you?
Hello, both of you. Hello, podcast land. I'm very well, thanks. How are you guys doing?
Very well.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And this is very continental because, as you can imagine, he's talking from another continent. Where are you these days?
I'm on the other side of the pond. I'm talking to you from cloudy Oxford, England.
Cloudy Oxford. Is it always cloudy, or is it ever?
I think cloudy is just sort of the default setting for this whole island. So, when in doubt, probably about to rain.
Are you surrounded by corn?
No, but by corn. No.
Lucky you.
Shanna is.
Lucky you. It's cloudy here, and I've got corn.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound too bad. I like corn.
But it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So okay,
we don't have much in the way of corn, but we have a ton of tourists. That's what Oxford has. That, and obviously the romantic spires, the singing, but tourists more so.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
A little bit of a Disneyland shortly outside of. I'm really not selling this place very well. It's a fantastic place. It's got a rich history, and if you want to study in a fancy university, then what are the places to go?
I might have to go through Oxford the next time I come to the UK. The last couple of years, I've been going there every June for a fan studies conference, and so every time my friend Julie and I go, we try to see a different part of the UK than we did before. So maybe next time we have Oxford.
Yeah, stop by. Let me know. I'll make you a martini.
Oh, sold.
Is he not awesome? So tell us about your podcast. So what's shaking there?
Well, I called Who Back When, which is it's a podcast that's been running for the past 4 years. The original mission of this, and it still is sort of the mission. I shouldn't say way, but the mission is basically to go through every single episode of Doctor Who since the very, very beginning, episode by episode. So as you know, this is a show that recently celebrated its 50th anniversary. This is a show that started in 1963. There are tons and tons of episodes and serials to go through. Alongside Classic Who, so the original series, we're going through the new series, the sort of rebooted show from 2005. Probably most of Podcast Land is more familiar with. And David Tennant and so on.
So what are you up to on either side of it?
So on the classic sides, we are halfway through the third Doctor. That's the first Doctor to be transmitted in colour. Very much sort of the Saint or James Bond, because it's 70s at this point. On the New Who front, where we just started with Matt Smith, Doctor who followed the incredibly popular David Tennant. I say the incredibly popular David Tennant because I assume that's sort of the prime export on your side of the pond.
We definitely know who he is, and I mean, I certainly remember Tom Baker.
Tom Baker was my Doctor as well.
Well, because he was, he was there forever. He's like the Franklin Delano Roosevelt of
of Time Lords.
Of Time Lords, pretty much. There's nothing to fear but the TARDIS itself or something like that.
So you're going through all of the classic episodes. Are there still lost episodes from the classic era? How are you navigating that, or have they been found?
Well, there are still lots. I mean, a bunch of lost serials. We've now already gone through them, or I went through. There's not much to. I mean, there's basically nothing to see there for the lost episodes. What they have are production stills. Is that either members of the production crew or fans or cast themselves took. Alongside that, what they have almost perfectly intact are the audio tracks. There's this absolute or actually I say company, it may be much more informal than that. I'm trying to remember what they're called now. But there's this sort of fan-based production company together, almost like slideshows alongside those audio tracks. For those lost serials, just listened, all the, flipped through these slideshows, then reviewed them.
Oh, so
sorry?
So it's a little more than just almost like listening to a radio show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for those lost serials, what normally, I mean, the format of our show is normally just sort of a bit of banter. 2 or 3 of us sit down in a room and we have a couple of cocktails and we talk. But for those lost serials, most of Podcastland had turned out, got a bunch of feedback. Wanted to delve into them. They were a pain to get through, I can say. But those episodes are basically... If you are curious about the lost episodes, obviously biased, but I can recommend that you listen to the Who Back When synopsis.
Okay, definitely.
That's one of them. Fortunately, from the Third Doctor on, everything... Watch and enjoy them.
So we wanted to kind of get into a topic that which I sort of alluded to earlier, that wacky things happen when you start changing stuff. I guess is the best way to put it. And so many people just cannot abide by change. And there's been change in the Trek fandom recently, with the new show, and also with the new films, which are still fairly new, and changes in Star Wars, and also this year, very, very big change in Doctor Who, and not just ripples throughout the fandom, big tidal waves through it. So what have you seen?
Of the reactions of fans, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I have to say, maybe it's because my directed at a different part of the fandom, but the reactions that I have overwhelmingly positive. Want that change, and at the very least, our listeners are very happy for that change to occur. But yes, you are right. I have also seen on Twitter and occasional Facebook comments an incredibly poor taste and quite narrow-minded for people who claim to adore Doctor Who because it expands the horizon and tries new things. Well, some people have an incredibly narrow-minded view. But the read things like, this destroys Doctor Who for me. This is all like the Doctor has to... Oh, how am I going to be able to even enjoy the show? I find it somewhat unfathomable. I mean, the Doctor's an alien.
Yeah, and he's a shape-shifting alien for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, the same rules do not apply. But a lot of people out there do not agree. The only not the only surprising thing, but one of the surprising things to me seems as though a lot of the haters are not necessarily fans of classic Who. They're not people who are maybe of an harkening back to an era when Elf was incredibly sexist. These are people who have joined with the reboot.
Interesting. So
People that you would imagine are a little bit more modern.
Yeah, or younger fans for that matter. I mean,
Exactly.
Weren't Tennant and Smith both pretty much particularly brought in to try to bring in younger fans?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm I might do a Doctor Who podcast, but I'm by no means an expert. Yeah, I think principally the thing that changed with yes, they brought in younger fans, but principally the thing that changed with the arrival of Tennant is Doctor suddenly got a bit of sex appeal.
Yeah, and I think that kind of changed things too, because here you had he was sort of the kindly grandfather or the kindly father figure, and then suddenly he becomes hotshot boyfriend figure.
Yeah, exactly. Up until that point, the character of the Doctor was sexual. There's a moment a little bit later, an episode in New Who in the Reed Smith where I'm gonna euphemistically say that he's being actively courted by one of his companions. Really, really wants to actively court him in bed. Doctor just cannot wrap his mind around it. He doesn't understand what's going on. That's kind of that alien asexuality that the Doctor... There were lots of female companions and characters on the ever even potential of romance that just wasn't in the cards.
Well,
the arrival... sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I think with Capaldi, they kind of pulled some of that back, but not completely.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree with you on that. Capaldi very much harkens back to the very first Doctor, Arjun Magoo type, who's secretly incredibly wise, but at the same time, his interplay with other characters and certainly with his wife on the show, you can tell that there is another side to this character. But what I was thinking was the arrival of Tennant and the arrival of sex appeal to that kind of cemented the Doctor's gender role. The fact that this character was brought in marketing stunts, girls or worship. That okay, so the Doctor is now male. Certain stereotypes, perhaps.
Well, when he stops being an object of, of desire, then people kind of get weirded out about that, I think. And, although I think that they were better with Capaldi, who certainly, if you're big on Matt Smith, who was, I don't know how old he is, what is he in his 30s, and then suddenly you see Capaldi, who's older than I am, and, although not by much, and, that suddenly, young women in particular who may have been, or young men for that matter, who may have been, really excited about Smith or about Tennant, and then to be confronted with someone who's clearly a lot older, that it sort of messes with their minds, but still not as much as a gender change.
Yeah, that's true. Agreed. But very recently, hang on, can I ask, do you two follow Doctor Who? Do you watch the show? I'm not spoiling anything in it. Can we assume that Podcast Land also watches the show too?
I do follow the show, but I lost track of the last season because I had to give up cable TV, so I have not yet caught up. But as the audience knows, I am kind of anti-spoiler culture, so spoil away, because there's still the question of how does it happen?
how does it happen? How does the gender change?
Well, just how does anything happen? I mean, if you give away a major plot point, yeah, okay, I know a thing happens, but I still don't know everything that transpires up to that point. So, I don't mind spoil away.
Okay. Well, I think this is very mild as far as spoilers go, but the Doctor has always had, not always, but for the longest time, had an arch nemesis, Master. If this was the last season or 2 seasons ago, the Master, who is also a Time Lord, just like the Doctor, underwent a regeneration and became woman. We have already seen this. There is a precedent.
But I think...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I think that people also kind of got interested in that because there was almost because it was a means of creating almost a sexual tension between the mistress and the Doctor.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that most definitely is true. Wouldn't the same people who go, well, I can't no longer I can't look at Jodie Whittaker and Doctor, the same people Missy is not Master. A man with a white beard or a white and black beard. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
It's interesting to me because anecdotally, I've been noticing a different behavior among the Doctor Who fans that populate, say, my social media feeds and stuff, and it isn't so much the newer fans that I'm noticing that are rejecting the changes so much. I mean, there was a little bit of pushback when we went from Matt Smith to Peter Capaldi. I did notice some things more in comment sections than actual friends of mine. When people are like, oh, well, I guess we don't have the Doctor as eye candy anymore. But really, the biggest objections I'm seeing to Jodie Whittaker are actually people who did watch the classic episodes and started out watching Doctor Who in the 60s and 70s, and it's kind of irrational, but to them the Doctor still needs to be a man just because. It's kind of an appeal to canon, I think. But there's kind of it's kind of a slippery disguised kind of sexism when you kind of veil it as an appeal to canon, and so that's kind of the things that I've been noticing going on in my feed.
Yeah, that's and we've seen this with Star Trek also, where there's this we've talked about this too, that the gatekeeping mentality is not only alive and well, it is thriving. And you're not really a Trek fan, you're not really a Who fan, you're fake geek girl, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that, and just it's discouraging, I would say, because both of these IPs, and in fact all intellectual property, if it wants to remain viable, they've got to bring in new fans. And how are they going to do that? They do that by changing things, and it's not even just to bring in new fans; it's also to keep things interesting for the fans. If you had the exact same adventure every single week, my God, they'd be turned off rather fast. So and as we see this gatekeeping, we're seeing the whole TARDIS full of bras kind of slam, and I'm seeing this in for Star Trek Discovery, where people are getting angry that they think, it's too PC because there's too many women in power and too many women of color in power. That's I've seen that one too. I actually saw somebody fairly recently put up a picture of Sonequa Martin Green and a picture of Madge Sinclair both in Star Trek, and said, "Oh yeah, they look the same," or it was something like that, or "Oh, this character is this character," and this person had no idea that what they were doing was that racist.
Yeah, it strikes me as kind of ironic in that we're getting this kind of pushback from fans of shows that have always been more or less progressive, or at least progressive within the context of the time that we're seeing the episodes. So it's baffling and confusing to me, but at the same time, it kind of does challenge our assumptions as to who fans of these shows really are.
Well, and it's also kind of what we are as a people. We're all very fond of saying, "Oh, it's 2017. We're beyond this. We're beyond that. We don't act this way. We don't say these things." But but as a species, we do. It's I hate to say it, but this racism, sexism, all this stuff, it's alive and well.
Yeah, you would have thought we would have come a little further along than that, and much time has passed.
Yeah, it's not. God, man, that just it's the extent of people's butthurt, and sort of never ceases to amaze me. I guess is the way I see it.
Yeah, it's butthurt, but I also think that there's just a lot of ingrained stuff that's just like so invisible. We take it for granted. We don't even notice it, because we still have a lot of racism and sexism at the systemic level. We have a lot of structures in place that kind of prevent change. And so, we've got all this stuff internalized, and it kind of makes it invisible. So, of course, people kind of go on the defensive when you point it out. And until people can stop getting defensive and just really think about, hey, where do my feelings about this actually come from, and why are they there? I don't think that we'll get past it.
Can I ask, are there any... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Please go ahead, please.
Do you think that there are any particular barriers that the majority of fans or a large and vocal minority find difficult to get past? The example with Doctor Who would be that when there were speculations who's the next one going to be, lots of people were saying, well, maybe this time it's going to be of color, maybe it will be a woman, maybe it will be or an older person who isn't English, or the character of Doctor Who, or for, of the Doctor heard of. Do you think in general there are particular barriers that are...
I think in terms of barriers, I've noticed a similar phenomenon in Doctor Who as I've noticed in Star Trek, is that, every time a new Star Trek series comes out, people have to be against it. They complain about it. They decide that they hate it before they even see it. Everything that was Trek before was wise and wonderful and perfect. This new Trek is going to suck. And then, it builds its audience. Some people who have been fans of everything stick with it. Some of them are new fans. And then life goes on until the next Star Trek series comes out. And then people have to hate on that one. But now the one that came before is all of a sudden, it gets to join the other ones on the pedestal. So what I've noticed with the regeneration of the Doctors, and again, this is just anecdotal. This is the fans that populate my feed. There are some people like me who are just like, oh, cool, where is Doctor Who going to take me now? What is this new Doctor going to be like? This should be interesting. And then there's other people who just, no matter what, they have to object. And interestingly enough, a lot of these people, I would say probably out of the classic Doctors, Tom Baker was their absolute favorite, and they could not be won over really by any of the new doctors until David Tennant. So basically, I think that there's one type of resistance that has to do with the fact that they're not Tom Baker and or David Tennant, but I think that the resistance to Jodie Whittaker is a little bit of that, but it also comes from someplace else, something that's a little bit more deeply ingrained at a social and cultural level.
Yeah, I think another problem with anything going on for this long is that the longer something has had time to cemented in the general cultural consciousness, the more difficult it is to change it. This is probably not a change that could have occurred 70s or in the had been socially acceptable, BBC to do this. It may have been an easier step to do, just than 54 years, I mean.
Certainly there's I would hope that there's more acceptance than there would have been 5 decades ago. But yeah, it's but you also have exactly that it's been ingrained in me, where people are saying this has ruined Doctor Who for me. I can't watch it anymore. It's like, okay, all right, fine. You're not interested in watching this particular person. All right, I don't agree with you, but that's your perspective. Hey, whatever, more power to you, whatever your preference is, hey, go for it. But at the same time, this didn't suddenly erase 5 decades worth of shows. I mean, as you know better than the rest of us, how much material there is out there, how much content. You could be happy watching or even rewatching this stuff probably for years and not even bother with whoever's the current doctor, or even whoever Ms. Whittaker ends up regenerating into.
I wonder if that will lead into specifically that the question of whom she regenerates into eventually, let's 3 years, 4 years down the road. Because if she regenerates into male doctor, I suspect that all of these incredibly narrow-minded people go, well, finally everything's been corrected, sort of the timeline has been adjusted to be something. Might then make it, as in, that might then be a huge step backwards. Slightly scared that forced to.
Yeah, I mean, do they feel like all's right with the world suddenly, or do they see it as business as usual? The doctor changes and changes to somebody else. Yeah, it does kind of make you wonder who's going to be the next person who's hired. That person's going to have a very interesting thing to do too.
And I wonder too.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. Sorry, I keep rudely interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, I was just kind of wondering too, if they hire a man after Jodie Whittaker, is it gonna, what kind of difference is it gonna make if it's a man of color? Is there still gonna be that kind of pushback based on race, or is his maleness going to be enough to satisfy people?
I don't know. I think that's where the question of which barriers are more breakthrough. It's very possible that many of these the sexist viewers from, you were saying that I'm kind of, in a way, I'm sort of happy to hear that, because that's the opposite of what I was seeing online. But because that's somehow more to be expected. But no, it's possible that they'll go, it's he's a man, I don't know. I would be speculating regardless.
It's okay. He's a guy. We're cool.
Yeah.
All's right with the world again. It does make you kind of wonder. We saw this in Czech, where when Kate Mulgrew is hired to be a starship captain, there are people who are, of course, going to be not too happy about that. I don't really remember Backlash, but this is also kind of pre-internet being big. And now this time around, now we're used to seeing a woman in the captain's chair, and Martin Green isn't even in the captain's chair, but Michelle Yeoh certainly was. So we're used to that. Okay, good. We're used to that part. But oh my God, now it's a person of color. Oh my God, clutch my pearls. Horror, the horror.
Well, and the horror there, too, was that it was two women in charge in the beginning of Discovery, and both of them were women of color.
And wait, one of them has a man's name? That's unheard of.
Oh my God, oh my God. If you've ever watched a John Hughes film, you see females with male names all the time. Get over it, people.
Oh, and you would think that the older fans, too, who are objecting to that, it's like, did you not watch The Waltons? Who played the mom?
Yes.
Michael Learned.
Her real name. Real person.
I did not know that. Okay.
Oh, yes. See,
The Waltons was big at our house when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the gatekeeping, the pearl clutching, and always my favorite, which we're seeing this in a lot of other places too. I'm not a sexist, but I'm not a racist, but
yeah, exactly. I'm not a sexist, but this isn't the Star Trek that I'm used to, or Doctor that I can relate to.
Yes, because oh my God, how horrible it is that someone is a little bit different from you. Oh my God.
Or how horrible that somebody who isn't like you has a doctor that they can relate to.
I saw this on Facebook, I don't know, a few days ago. A woman talking about cosplay, and she said that she had gone to a convention a few years ago, and a little girl came running up to her, like running, like a 4 or 5 year old, very young girl, and said, "Oh my God, Wonder Woman, you're brown like me."
Oh.
And that's amazing. So that little girl had her hero. So why can't other people have their hero?
Oh, yeah. There was the thing too, like one particular fan that I had been arguing with about this change with the Doctor. That was her argument, and what really tripped me out about this whole thing is that a lot of the bigger pushback is coming from women, and so she says, "Well, I just can't relate to him." I'm thinking, okay, how are you the only person who could find a doctor relatable? Maybe some women do want to have a doctor who looks like them.
Or
there
not.
may be a certain subset of. Oh, see, I keep interrupting you.
No. I'm just I have a tendency to jump in, so please.
Well, I was just going to say maybe there is a subset of the fact don't necessarily want a doctor to relate to, but they want a doctor to, or to aspire to be a doctor as opposed to themselves aspire to be that. The doctor is suddenly too similar to them, no longer a possibility in them. Similarly, this new regeneration may actually open up the converse situation for a lot of other viewers who have looked at Tennant and gone, well, Tennant's a lot like me. Maybe I could be a Time Lord one day when I grow up. And they've up a little bit and they look at Whittaker and they go, maybe the Doctor is someone who would pick me as their companion. So why not switch this around after 54?
Yeah, and also there's that, but there's also the very real thing that happens in I think pretty much all fandoms these days, which is the fantasy of this character. If this was a real thing, of this character choosing me as a romantic companion.
Yeah, certainly.
We know from fan fiction. Oh my God, do we know from fan fiction?
But the thing too, I don't know, like fan fiction, because for a lot of it and for a lot of people, there is this, for lack of a better word, corrective quality to it, in that, the show didn't do enough of something that I wanted more of, so I'm going to write this fan fiction that explores that possibility. Or, hey, what if we bent the gender on this character or whatever. Once again, you still have that outlet. You still have all of those male doctors that came before, and write your own regeneration into whatever kind of doctor you want.
I'm just pleased that I could potentially cosplay as her.
Yes.
Although, actually, I think I want to cosplay with those disco track shirts because it looks really comfortable.
I know, it's just so cool.
Disco track shirts? I don't know what that is, but that sounds fantastic.
Are you watching Discovery?
Yes, I am. Oh, sorry. I'm not clever enough. That's not where my mind went with disco. I was thinking, strobe lights and colorful lasers.
No, that's the next episode.
I was going to say, that's my kind of trek right there.
Hell yeah.
Strobe lights, disco balls, light up floor. I would watch the hell out of that.
Make it so. Oh God, we have to write this now.
I smell a collaboration.
I actually did write something like that several years ago. It was and it turned into like a time travel thingy with Daniels, because this was for Enterprise, because Captain Archer had been compromised, and there is a moment where he's wearing the whole John Travolta suit and does the pose.
Nice, very nice.
See, you're learning things about me that you never knew. Yeah, yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's a little nepotism here. Leon and I are related.
Yes, we are.
Although I have no idea how. I mean, we're cousins, but it's like, what are we, fourth, fifth, something like that?
Something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure either. I think I know where the connection is, but I don't know exactly how many generations back it.
Because you're related to my great aunt Ray, right?
Exactly. That's the connection that I'm aware of. I think she was my granddad's
maybe sister or cousin, something like that.
Not sister.
No, couldn't sister. Be. That's right, couldn't be.
Sorry, this makes perfect sense to the rest of podcast land. So.
And then we did genealogy.
Well, I guess it's better than doing speed dating. So. Random. Okay, sorry about that. Derailed.
Derailed. Train off the tracks. Completely gone.
So Leon, why don't you tell us more about the podcast itself? Like how often do you broadcast? How many people are involved, and how Doctor Who fans find you and listen to you?
Okay. Well, you can find us first of all just by googling or checking iTunes or Who Back When. Go to whobackwhen.com.
Okay, awesome. And we will definitely put that link in our blog version that will accompany this podcast, so that way people click.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You're on Twitter too. Are you on Facebook? You're on both of those?
Yes, we're on Twitter and Facebook. You can find us on twitter.com/whobackwhen. Who Back When, that's Who Back When, all in one word. Otherwise, in all the regular places. wherever you can find podcasts, really, will be there. We are a pseudo week show. I say pseudo because there are plenty of exceptions to that rule. But we try to drop an episode every. They're alternating episodes. So, a New Who episode or a New Who review one week, and then there are some bonus episodes as well if there happens to be a convention in town.
This is what happens when you've got
out.
This is what happens when you've got a bigger staff.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, you asked how many of us there are. That kind of depends. There are. I would say there are at the moment 4 of us, sort of core members. There have been episodes with the co-hosts. The co-hosts over the past 4 years have sort of regenerated as well. So I started this with a buddy of mine, London, and stuck around for 6 months, and then moved on to other things, and then different co-host, and so on. And yeah, so there are. Let's say there are 4 of us doing it, with some extra co-hosts jumping in now.
So when your co-hosts regenerate, like, are there sound effects? Is cool stuff happen? Like how does that go?
Oh, there is. There are so many laser beams and smoke and everything. No sound whatsoever, just tons of visual effects. Unfortunately, we are an audio podcast, so you can't actually see that, but just take my word for it. It is a spectacular sight.
Oh, snap. I'm going to have to come out to England for one of those then.
So there's a very, very large budget for the regeneration.
Oh, yeah. We've got tigers on stage. There are, confetti everywhere. Fantastic stuff.
The confetti budget line item alone.
That's awesome.
Right. So, do we have more to say, or do you want to wrap? What do you think?
I'm kind of good to wrap, I think.
Can I add one tiny little note about Doctor Who and the before we call it a night?
Okay, sure.
Sorry to jump in if that's
sure. No, please.
Off format, but I was just going to say, because we were talking about writing before, I think this offers up fantastic opportunities in terms of the upcoming, the future writing of the show. A really banal example of that: the Doctor's had a alias that he's been using for the past 50 years, and that alias is John Smith, because it's such an incredibly common name. I am really looking forward to. I'm hoping that it won't come in the first few episodes, but I'm really looking forward to that first time when Jodie Whittaker is going to have to whip out that alias and go, just the reflex action. Oh yes, I'm John Smith, and then people look at her maybe a little bit with a raised eyebrow and go, "Really, you're John Smith? Okay, then I guess so." I think there are lots of different things that fun directions that the show can go in. I'm really looking forward to finally having also all of whoever in the audience is criticizing this before even having had a chance to. I'm really looking forward to all of those people being. Yeah, that's my 5 cents worth.
Yeah, I mean and this is something we saw with Star Trek Discovery, where people were dissing on the show before it had even started, and claiming that it was going to flop miserably when it's and it's been renewed for a second season. So yeah, I guess it kind of didn't. Yeah,
I take it different. Both of you are huge fans of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I almost hate myself for how much I love this show, because like I said, I have these really big essay exams from hell that I'm going to have to do at the end of November. And so I really should be spending as much time possible reading, preparing, and just getting set. And I'm actually rewatching the episodes before the new ones get to air. And I'm keeping up with a few shows, but this is the only one that I'm devoting the time to watch. And I really shouldn't be, but I can't help myself. It's that good. And I keep bringing people over to my house just to have another excuse to watch it. Hey, have you seen this? Come on over. It's Sunday night. So yeah, I think I have a problem. I might need a support group. I don't know.
Hi, my name is Janet.
Some sort of Star Trek intervention.
And I'm a Discovery fan.
I can quit anytime I want to. Twitch.
I just don't want to. Please, man, I gotta have it. And this is why they give you the first episode free.
Yeah, it worked.
Oh my god. John Van Sitters, if you're listening, you forget that we said that.
What, that I could quit anytime I wanted to?
No, that we're comparing him to a street corner junkie.
Oh. well, I mean, both products sell themselves? I don't know.
Oh God! Yes, and once again, the show degenerates.
Sorry, we should quit while we're behind.
It's probably a good idea. All right, so we wanted to thank you so much. This was so nice to talk to you, and we should have you back, and we should compare notes on Discovery theories or something, and really geek out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I especially would love to have Leon back when Jodie Whittaker's episodes start, so that way we could just do some really good analysis, too.
Oh my goodness, I would love to return and talk about that. I actually, there's... Sorry, I don't want to ham-fist another comment in here, but there was actually one more note, as though I've made copious notes. I have a couple of bullet points here.
Sure.
There was one thing that I really wanted to mention here, because I very recently read a book that also plays with gender roles, and that's also science fiction. I can warm-heartedly recommend. It's called Untrustworthy. It's really, really good.
Oh, really? Thank you.
I'm looking at my copy right here. It's Untrustworthy. Who's the writer? It's J.R. Gershon Siegel. It's a fantastic book.
Thank you. Send it over and I'll sign it.
Oh, fantastic.
You know where I live.
It may have been plugged on Who Back When as well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really kind of you.
Thank you very much. At some point, we're going to have to sit down and actually properly talk about it.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to, we haven't seen each other in, my God, many years. I think you were a kid.
Yeah, I think I was, yeah.
You're not a kid
maybe
anymore.
Like 11 or 12.
Yeah, you're not 11 anymore. Yeah, we have to actually get on the same continent, because I really want to see you and give you a hug, because I haven't been so long.
Likewise.
Maybe I have to drag you to a fan studies conference once.
Sounds good to me.
And then we'll stop in Oxford and have martinis.
Perfect.
I'm sold.
Awesome.
All right. On that happy note, are we? Oh yeah. So next episode will be after Thanksgiving. I know that, because God knows we have to get through that.
Yeah. We have to let the turkey coma wear off, and I'll need to recover from my exams.
And I really hope that I'm done with 50,000 words by then. Yeah, the nano novel for this year is going to be about the way sort of a slow apocalypse starts happening, because the metals on the periodic table start to disappear.
Ooh.
So we do okay when chromium goes, because nobody really cares, and we sort of do okay when titanium goes, but a bunch of people lose their artificial hips, and then when copper goes, of course, we have riots, because now there's a worldwide power outage, and but I won't spoil the rest of it. But pick up your copy of the periodic table today, and you'll be able to follow along.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's, God, I have weird ideas.
Those are the best ones.
True that. All right. Thank you again. This has been fantastic, and we will talk to you again. We will. I swear we will.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. All right. So with that, are we out?
I guess we are. So good night and good news, and have a good American Thanksgiving when it comes up.
And good night and good luck, because I don't know. That was the first thing that.
Because you're gonna need it.
That's right. all of those family get-togethers, they get a little dodgy there, a little intense sometimes. So
remember, when they ask you if you have not done XYZ yet, just say, it's happening. It's percolating. Why haven't you had kids yet? It's percolating. Why haven't you gotten married yet? It's percolating. Why haven't you moved to wherever? Oh, it's percolating. Don't you have a job yet? Oh, it's percolating. Good word. It's useful for all occasions. Next episode will be the lucky 13th, of course, which is the same number as Jodie Whittaker.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. All of these connections. It's like fate.
Yes. Yeah. We should figure out a name for this show. Oh, we can do that off the air. But
well, we decided the last one on the air.
That's true. Yeah, because we lost September.
Well, we didn't lose October, so I don't know. No, we can decide that off the air.
Okay. You don't need to hear how we do production meetings on the air. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and peace out. We'll see you in a month.
And until next time, be good and play nice.
Live long and prosper and all of that stuff.
Doodle pip.
Music provided by Infocationary. Send mail to hosts@semanticshenanigans.com. Follow us on Twitter at 2shenanigans. That's the number, not the word. 2shenanigans. On Facebook, you can find us at Semantic Shenanigans. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Semantic Shenanigans. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on Semantic Shenanigans.